Afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. That's better. It's just like energy. I know it's the last session of the day. It's like, yeah, we'll lean slightly because it's that time of day. We're a bit tired. Thank you and welcome for this session. Delighted to be chairing this session, just because this is three really smart people standing next to me, or sitting next to me, who do really good stuff. As one of the privileges of my work is being a consultant, I get to speak to really smart people who do really good things, and that's to do that here is exceptional. Yeah, those people weren't available, but yeah, you guys were, so we make do. We're going to be using Jamboards for this session, so if you can, please make sure you're at a table where at least one person has got mobile, laptop, tablet, just where you'll be able to sit around, because you are going to be doing some stuff today, okay? Because I know this is a panel, and I would like to introduce you to the non-panel. The reason being is this isn't a bog standard Q&A, because panels, I'll just sit there, hide at the back, say I went to that session, that was some really useful notes, and then walk away and listen to three really smart people answering questions. But let me introduce you to our panel. Let's start at the far end.
Hi everyone, I'm Henrietta Mbia-Bankas. I am a registered mental health nurse and have been doing all sorts of learning and development work for the past, 17 odd years. But in the last 3 or so years, the focus for me has been working with Health Education England to think about how we educate our health and social care workforce in terms of developing their digital learning. So looking at not just the people we've got now, which is about 3.1 million across health and social care, but also starting to think about the people that we've got coming in the next few years. So learning and development is huge for us, but as you can imagine, we haven't got lots and lots of money to keep commissioning learning and development, so we have to find innovative ways of getting learning and development. So hopefully I'll be able to share some of that learning with yourselves.
Excellent, thank you. Second.
I'm Lavinia, I come from Romania. I've been working in L&D for 10 years now, both in higher ed and in the corporate world. And I started a newsletter for people like you, L&D professionals, 2 years ago, and this year a private community. My focus is on social learning and content curation, which is, I think, very relevant to our topic today. And I help, again, people like you to learn about these topics and go back to your organizations and help people learn from each other.
Thank you. And lastly?
Hi, I'm Ed Gallier. I'm the commercial one. So I work for Leonardo Hotels in the UK. I'm head of learning and development and work for the company for 11 years. We have 4,500 employees in the UK, a lot less. But coming from a hotel environment, we've been through big changes the last couple of years. Pressures on workforce. Right from the last 10 years, we've worked with an online learning partner and formed a really great relationship with them. But right from the start, you can imagine in a hotel, most of the team are not desk-based. They've not got a work-provided device, so they're using their own mobile devices. So we're definitely around content, bespoke content, learning in the workflow, and getting information out really quickly. And they're quite proud of the brand, so off the shelf isn't always an option. It's how can we make it just for us and bespoke for us with a limited budget as well.
Awesome. So we've got people from different industries, all with different problems, large workforces, small workforces, and so on. Just give you some background. So I've worked in local government, which is awash with money, isn't it? Not. And about 10 years ago, I was working in local government, and I cancelled all our courses, classes, and workshops to try and save some money, and then came up with a dozen other things which were all nil or neutral costs instead. So experience of working in a different way to do learning. I've said they're the non-panel because what you're doing is we think it's much better to use your experience in the room. We did a brief count up earlier. we reckon we've got about 100 years experience in learning and development between us. We reckon there's probably 1,000 years experience in learning and development from everybody that's in the room now. So you guys probably know more than we know. And one of the key things when you're working with almost no budget is it's not necessarily about knowing where the cheap stuff is, it's finding the people who know the right answer. And the job of the learning professional is then to connect those people. So what we want you to do is look at your business problems. So what are the specific resource-driven problems you've got? We will give you a list of the free stuff. I know you've all come for the free stuff. I will give you a list of 45 places you can go and get free photographs from, all right? Yeah, I'll give you that at the end. I'll give you, it's fine. I'll give you the link to YouTube where you can download music for free. I'll give you a link, you can go and download sound effects, 150 different sound effects for free. Because that's the free stuff. That's what everybody comes. You're laughing because everyone wants the free stuff. So we'll give you that stuff afterwards, and some of that stuff will come out in your conversations as well. But more importantly is, what are the problems you're facing? So this is why we're using the Jamboards. What we want you to do is to start having those conversations and start making those notes on the Jamboards. And what the panel will do is, instead of you asking them questions, is they'll come in and ask you questions and then help answer them. So what you've got is a completely interactive panel who will be able to give you specific advice, and around your tables, people who will be able to give you advice as well. We thought that's probably better value. Yeah. Yeah. Woo. Woo. Quiet session. Okay. Alternatively, we could just stand here and talk at you and, you know, have a little kip. Just lean slightly. And then what we'll do is we'll do a little review at the end and work through what works. How does that sound? Cool. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to make sure everybody can get logged into the Jamboards. What I want you to do is, around your tables, is just introduce you to each other. So are you sitting with people you already know? If you do, brilliant. Get up and go to another table, because you don't want to be sitting with the people you know. You want to sit with people who you don't know, who can give you a sense of understanding around how to do stuff differently from their world. Yeah? So I'll give you 3.5, 4 minutes. If you want to move, if you want to go and speak to somebody, just start finding out who people are. What's their names? Where do they work? Is that all right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, brilliant. Jump in.
I love the Zoom in the room when everybody starts
This will get them putting stuff down quickly. Once someone's logged in and they see the blank page, no one likes a blank page.
Who knows what table they're on?
Side. I'll ask a question. I couldn't select, but no, there's 6 numbers up for grabs. What number do you want to be? There is. Well, there's actually 8 up for grabs. Which one do you want to be? Yeah. There's 8. Yeah, but we've got 6. I've got 8 boards, but 6 tables.
I suppose you don't want them all thinking the table one, and you've got a really busy table 1 board.
Which is why we'll ask.
And there are some on the back.
Yeah. They can form their own table.
Shall I ask? Shall I go and see if they want to? Oh, they don't.
They want to form their own.
Yeah. They're the rebels.
Hi, are you okay here at the back, or do you want to join a table or set up your little table? You need to screen out.
Need to find a table somewhere.
Well, 3 chairs, I thought, well, I'll let them go.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough. No problem. That's all right. Do you love the bow? Agile mindset.
I said, I was just thinking, what's the worst that could happen?
Absolutely. That's what it's about. Okay. Thanks, everybody. See, once people start talking, they just don't shut up, do they? It's great. I love it. I love it. Okay. Has somebody been able to get logged into a Jamboard on each table? Can I just see a show of hands? Has one person been logged on the Jamboard? If you're logged in the Jamboard, can you put a hand up for me so I can see? If anybody's on the Jamboard, here, we're on the Jamboard, somebody on the table. I'll give you a moment or two. Okay, so on the Jamboard, you will find there are 8 tables. I'm not going to nominate. Who wants to be table number 1? Okay, a minor point. I ask questions of the audience, and interestingly, so I've done a lot of research into how women are underrepresented in senior roles in learning and development. Part of the issue is because they don't have role models. Another issue is because when they go to conferences, a woman at a conference is about 60% less likely to answer a question if a man answers it first. When I ask the question, who wants to be table number 1, this table put their hands up. Well, 2 people put their hands up. Who were the 2 people who put their hands up? Were they men? Yes, they were. It's almost as if the evidence supports it. They can be table number 1, can't they? Who do you nominate to be table number 2? Table number 2. So you're table 2. Table 2, who do you nominate to be table 3? You're table 3. Yay! Success. Table 3, who do you nominate to be table 4? These guys. Table 4. The table 4, right, table 4 is the far corner over there. You guys over there, you're table 4. Table 5. Going this way, table 5, you guys are table 5. So that means you're table 6. Cool. And that means you guys at the back there, you're table 7. And we have a spare table 8, which these guys might use or whatever. Just try and keep a kind of the same place. You can look at the other tables and see what they're doing, but try and concentrate on yours if you can. So the question is quite simply, what is the business problem that's requiring you to look at your learning and development resources? And what we're after is, what's the issue? How are you going to fix this? Talk to the people on the table. What we're after is an idea generation. Yeah, we don't want to hear that I can't do this because. What I want is the suggestions of things that you could do. Favourite one of mine is people go, oh God, my budget's been cut, we can't do the video. So all right, let's do podcasts because they cost about 1/10 of the price. Oh wow. There you go, for example. You know, oh God, I can't do health and safety risk assessments. You know, my health and safety team can't do it. Fine, so get the people who do the job to do it and get that marked by the previous cohort, because then you're stretching the learning out. Ooh, that's an idea, yeah. For example, so there's ways around this stuff. So, what is the business problem you've got? And start talking about, well, how can you fix it? And rely on the other people on the table to give you their good advice. If you want to work on 2 or 3 problems at once, fine, do that. And a wonderful panel here, and maybe me, might wander around and just go, yeah, what about? And what we do is we'll look at the Jamboards and see what stuff you're putting on there, and then come to you. Awesome. I will nod at different times. Say again?
It's worth putting stuff on the Jamboards because everyone will get the Jamboards.
Absolutely, yeah. Put the stuff on the Jamboards. The really important thing on the Jamboards is everything that goes on there will stay on there. You will still have access to it afterwards, and I'll probably do something with these guys here, some kind of audio or something afterwards as well, which we will also tag on, which will then make it more effective, more useful for you. Okay? All right, off you go.
Is the link supposed to lead to the Jamboard?
The link should take you to the Jamboard.
Didn't work for all of them.
Did not work for you? Okay.
I mean, we can also open
Bit.ly, bit.ly, bit.ly / yeah, it's capital IRJ, so IRJ, capital IRJ. Yeah. Well, one of you sorts that out. What are the business problems you've got around L&D? Because you've all come to a session where there's no money. It's about having no money. So what's the problem? What's the problems you've got?
Actually, I wouldn't say ours is there's so much to do.
It's prioritising what to do first.
Well, we kind of know. Yeah. Come back to me.
Okay, that's cool. To be fair, that if you get Jamboard going, put that on there because that's a really important question because at the moment there's this tidal wave of stuff. Can you do stuff about well-being? Can you do stuff about cost of living? Can you do stuff about coronavirus? Yeah, it's this tidal wave of stuff coming through. Yeah, I get that, Lisa. I get that.
I would say perhaps overconfidence in a few people.
Confidence.
Yeah, overconfidence for a few people not to join training, basically saying, this is not important enough. I'd rather work on something really,
Okay.
It's not valuable. It's not your
I would say that's one. I mean, what you mentioned was my initial idea. To say that a lot of people that would need it most, in my opinion.
So that's a design issue. So what you do is, the big problem we have in L&D mostly is we build around 3 A's. We build around awareness, we build around acquisition, or we build around application. If you just build around acquisition, people will go, I've done that. I don't need to know that. If you build around awareness, that can be shorter and smarter and sharper, GDPR for example. If you build around application, then actually it's about applying the learning in the workplace. So build the learning activity as part of the work activity, and then that becomes a different ask.
So making it really practical in that sense? Or
So
not-
make it-
not leaving this a training, let's say, but rather
Exactly, so make it practical. So the kind of thing, for example, is, like I said, the health and safety risk assessments, or fire safety risk assessment. People do fire safety training. Don't make the evaluation a test or a quiz. Make the evaluation carrying out a fire safety assessment. And then that way it relates to the workplace. You're not asking them to do more, you ask them to do the thing that they'll be expected to do in the job. So you make the activity part of the learning.
Yes. We did that with in the health and safety when they have to do their risk assessment. They have to go onto the shop floor and identify risks that they see straight away.
Yeah.
The shop floor round when they come back and they tell us as part of the virtual experience. That's a breakout window.
But we would say actually make that just an assessment in the shop. So make it part of the normal routine. So how often do they do that risk assessment? Is it part of the daily task of the stock manager? If it is, then get your trainee to do that one day and then report it back. And then it becomes
An everyday experience.
exactly. It's not as well as the learning. Exactly. Yeah.
So they just don't see it. They do it, but they just don't see it.
Yeah.
Ninja.
No, that's how you did it.
solve your problem. And they get one free repair. If you send back your phone, you get one free repair.
Yeah, but to the right
depending on your organisations, we're quite active. Sorry, you know, so we're not regulated business or anything like that. So we are across Israel. So everything in L&D starts in we
Small
do
website.
Google Translate, then we use audio from employees, and then pass it through to other employees. Because we used to sort of spend $3,000 per item, you know, and that's incredible. That's logical, you know, bespoke, you know, that's basically logical. So we did a lot of sort of skill building, sort of rule development with people whose job is not wanting, so it might be a food and beverage supervisor who will do an audio recording on top of basically recording our we did a video with just closed captions automatically. So try and expand on the product we've already got. So we hopped in the first time we thought about like
empower our line managers to kind of get everything in one place and give them upskilling, but they're also then making that new staff feel welcome, not scared of within the first year at Tesco. There you go. You either stay there a long, you're either there for the first year and go, or you're there for a long time.
I'm laughing because my son's partner had just left Tesco to get a job somewhere else because she didn't feel that she was part of the team.
Yeah,
But there
that's
we go.
exactly what it's just that feeling of, because generally people who do leave and who do be there do miss it for the people. Yeah. And I don't know whether it's such a pressurised environment or whether it's going as it is at the moment. People don't have, you know, it's fine, everyone's time for it at the moment. But hybrid work is not the greatest thing to help what can I do to help colleagues feel part of that environment. Yeah. No, because I was tasked initially at the beginning of the year to write a new induction training course, get everyone in a room, and then because our remit is now bigger, I now have to like potentially look at another way of doing it.
We're doing the same thing.
Deliberately and embarrassing. You know, you wouldn't want to do that, but we sort of tone or somebody just be efficient. And I have one so this is the we sort of went to those translation businesses. We're always nearly as good as Google. Because there was no human
yeah, I had to do like a drop-in session for our grad intake. Human. And it's like, why am I doing something that's so common sense? Why do I have to remind the line manager to say, you know, show a bit of empathy, that you know, they're going to have to do a compliance training and they're going to have like 15 modules to do within like their first 2 years. You know, kind of have a bit of, it's like, why am I doing it?
Okay, so I would argue it's not a training issue, it's not a learning issue. What it is a capability issue, and I define capability as capacity plus ability. So, people have the ability to work in Tesco's, that's why they've been engaged. What you haven't got is the capacity to provide them additional support. And that capacity will be in the processes, the structures, the systems, and the culture that already exist in the organisation. So that is the way you address it. You don't address it by creating new ability, you create it by addressing capacity.
I thought there was like an interesting thing with the lecture this morning about that being skilled and being skillful. And I think that really resonated with us because we've been looking at we train sales organisation and we've done a lot of training which is very, let's say, textbook. We train them what they need to do and then we let them loose. And we're realising some of them fly, some of them don't. Some of them leave because they don't feel part of it. So we're starting to think about, do we cut back that textbook and increase and almost create like a kind of almost like a nursery environment. So rather than actually throwing them straight back into the field, you actually get them together and actually get them practicing on the job. And it was the presentation was about skewing it from being almost like 80% learning to almost like 60-70% practice on the job before they went into their main job. So we're sitting there thinking, how do we get that like a hothouse environment where they get that kind of mix of experienced people coming in, but they're all in it together and they kind of build that framework. So we're trying to see how do we do that in both a virtual and in a
it's trying to get that
virtual and in-person environment.
I'd suggest look at a guy called Richard Millington. He's got an organisation called Fever Bee, and he's got a whole blog about how you design communities.
Yeah.
And if you want to see about how communities run, go to his stuff, because
Yeah.
it's literally, it's the absolute step-by-step guide on how to design and develop communities. Richard Millington, Milling.
Because that's what I think.
If you've got the Jamboard open, put it on there.
Most people have done
Yeah,
boxes.
Richard
you know, like, just for
Millington
their
and
inputs.
Fever Bee, Feverbe
And then build around it.
is the name of his company. He's got a blog on there which literally is the step-by-step guide in how to build communities.
I think that's what's needed, because we're exactly the same in Annex to Tesco's. Is you come and you've gone in a year, or you're there 20 years later, 30 years later, and you're talking over creativity. We don't have a problem with technology, so yeah, it's only one of the
Oh, completely. All the time. All the time. As long as you say who it is, as long as you attribute it, that's all that matters.
Some are using the Jamboards very well, others struggling a little.
Yeah. Table 3 is excellent.
Yeah. Oh, you said they got loads.
Yeah.
They're not on that one yet. There's some bits coming on 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Good.
Table 7, they had problems accessing it. That's fine.
Okay, but no, it's cool, isn't it?
It's cool though, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
It's like-
yeah, when it works, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's just how you
Just
use
bringing
it.
it all together so that people can get a better understanding of what's happening on the other tables.
But this is nil cost.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It's, you know, and it's, you mentioned earlier about social learning and knowing who your experts are and bringing them together and all that kind of stuff. Well,
So the other thing I haven't done is I said correctly, I haven't said to anybody, have you changed contact details? Because there you go. You've got a network of people potentially now who you can engage with who've been through the same experience as you.
they're
Yeah,
all
okay,
here,
then.
they're all here for a reason, aren't they?
Exactly.
They've all chosen to
Yeah.
come to this action. Well, you know, yes, one for days, one could have chosen to come home.
Yeah.
Chosen to come to this.
Yeah, you put yourself into this session.
Have
Yeah.
some great conversations.
Yeah.
Make the most of it.
And it's packed.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it?
It's got to love it.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'm just getting a buzz out of this. It's just such a buzz.
Yeah, you must have a good 6 there.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Must be. What,
6 tables, yeah.
Yeah, 9 out of 10, I think.
10 on the table.
Yeah.
So it's 60 plus.
360.
Especially if you were breaking down a silo, there was if your culture allowed for that little social conversation within the same vehicle, so there wasn't sort of like we use teams for work. And
It will happen.
WhatsApp groups and all that sort of- It would sort of mix into the team or the channel, so people would get to know each other a little bit.
So at the
We
moment I'm
bought
okay.
some products, and we don't have a huge
But within
budget, but we
exactly
bought
for how I just don't know.
from a company called
The other thing is also, are you getting the best value out of what you're spending your money on now as well? That's another one. Can you prove the value of what you're spending? And that was the thing I found difficult in local government. We were running sickness absence courses,
and everyone's going, don't do it, don't
but
do
the
it,
sickness
don't do it.
absence
Why would
stayed
you
at
do
exactly
that?
the same level.
Physically get
So what were we doing?
goes wrong.
And the argument was, well, you're mitigating it, you're stopping it getting worse. And it was like, but how do we know?
So the last day as we
So let's take the courses away and see what
maybe see
happens.
you in a month.
And guess
on
what?
COVID, it'll be over.
Nothing happened.
We
Yeah.
gave everybody an A4
Yeah,
slide.
nothing happened. So obviously they were making
Log on
the
Saturday,
tiniest of
we had
impact.
trouble for launching
So
on
what we
Saturday.
said was, okay, so how do we
IT
need to support managers?
never around on Saturday.
And the conversation
Well,
with
we know
managers
where
were
they are,
that
they're in
the
bed.
forms were a
So,
nightmare. So we
anyway,
did some.
it
We
went
took some
really well,
screenshots.
but that
So I
came
took 6 screenshots
4,000
and then turned them into a GIF and said, this is how you enter
sort of keep them
sickness absence on the system.
L&D.
And that worked. It was free,
You could set up
no cost.
for,
You use just a GIF maker. Yeah, digital app. Yeah, GIF maker. Put 6 photos up, say I want it to last a second and a half on each one, and then loop. And that's all it does. And people literally can have the GIF there and follow
as we went back to work,
how to do it. We did that. Took calls till the call desk went down. All of a sudden, the sickness absence went up. They went, oh God, we need more sickness absence training. No, what you've got is managers who are doing their job properly now
is sitting
because they now know how to process it.
food and beverage for
What they need is, sorry, I was to say, what they need is the interviewing skills for feedback. Because that's where then all of a sudden, because we found the sickness absence went up, guess what? Grievance went up.
have a rule about
So people weren't doing return to work properly. Sorry, I cut across you.
And it just, when we were talking about agile L&D
a lot of
earlier
IT
on,
people
it goes back to
teams based
having
on
that
screen.
time to
And
really
it's the same thing, you know, like so you could, because mine's on a left panel.
what it
There's
is
lots of work
you've actually come up with a learning solution.
Started off as quiz
It's about
groups during
establishing
COVID.
whether actually
But
it
they've
is
just
an
morphed
L&D
into a
activity.
bit of a social conversation.
With
Some of the group members like sort of host a 20-minute coffee chat.
Yeah.
Put it out, does anyone want to join me? You know, on Friday at 10 o'clock.
We're quite yellow, aren't we? So
Have
we're
you
going
coffee with
let's
yourself? Again, if you're allowed.
No, but
I know there's a lot of culture
more about we just want to get it done.
what you're allowed to and what you're not allowed to do.
Do we really need to
Leveraging what you've already got. And just going at it softer.
And how much of it is
And maybe you don't
genuinely
need to
L&D and how much of it is actually just change that form and have that process?
Exactly.
People follow that QRG. We've got QRGs, quick reference guides, quick reference guides, there's hundreds of them.
Because I don't want to press the red button. Oh, we wouldn't know what to do when the red light went on. You know. We always get tomorrow to make it right. And some of you are in really critical one chance businesses.
Yeah.
And some of the data sometimes is
It's a process.
sensitive.
But people don't need that.
No.
That might be just the things like some
Okay, so great phrase by Seth Godin. He talks about bureaucracy is scaffolding around success. So at some point in the past, those QRGs were brilliant. Okay, they worked. And what you've done is you've now built scaffolding around them to make sure that the QRGs exist in the same format. But that scaffolding is so solid, stuff is changing around it, and they are not changing. So the context they operate in has now changed. Content is king, context is kingdom. The content of the QRGs is no use anymore. So you have to challenge, start taking some of that scaffolding away. Start.
Well, I think what we're doing, we're basically only started to, within particular functionality, that we can create videos around how to do something. So it's almost for good for systems training. And people are calling them the new video QRGs because it's I just want to watch it.
I feel sorry for Microsoft Teams sometimes because the other things Microsoft Teams
So that's what you do. So
People have gone, what's that?
exactly, take the quick
because if we have a big
take the quick reference guide and do some screenshots, turn them into a GIF. Do a screenshot and record an audio that people can listen to with it. Because people can listen to with it as well.
Not to be secret, just so you weren't throwing out the noise. And then just come back because everyone can sort of, you know, self-select a room. In a lot of industry education, Teams is the way to go because you get a lot of sort of security from, you know, if you're a PC organisation.
But that's what you do. You take away that text-based thing and go, how will my users use this? Do a QR code next to the thing, whatever it is, and people scan it, and then it plays a video that shows how the thing works. Did that stuff with Department of Health and Social Care, where you just scan a QR code and then it played a video. Which people watch it.
Otherwise, you know, the whole what you did at the weekend.
Yeah, so what you can do, so you take a screenshot of the first part of the process, then you take a screenshot of the next thing you do, then you take a screenshot of the next one, take a screenshot of the next bit, and literally you go picture, picture, and you stack them together, and then it plays those, and then goes back to the beginning and plays them again.
Not much. You can't get very much information across a short period of time, surely.
But the thing is that it will loop forever. That's the thing. So what I can do is, so how to log in to record a sickness absence. So what you do, so this is the login screen.
Mini version of this.
Yeah, exactly. But there's no video lag on them. They run at high quality for almost no bandwidth, and they're free. It's
No. Yeah. Not me. Have you?
it's they work so easy.
Yeah, because the gift makers even free ones, which can you see the browser?
Concept might well be a little bit sketchy, but it looks yeah, it's not a competition, but we've been looking at all of them. Oh, I don't know, table 3's not doing bad. Oh, you got an arrow? Awesome. Oh, sorry. A curved arrow, pointing up. Awesome. So what kind of stuff's been coming out? Because I must admit, I've not looked at your Jamboard. What's been coming out?
Lots of different things, yeah, it's a bit of a mismatch of everything, isn't it? Talked about the fact that training is needed across offices in many different countries.
Yep. Yeah.
The fact that digital solutions can often cost more, even though it's trying to make our lives easier sometimes, it costs more to
Yeah.
set it all up. Rely on volunteers in your training.
Yeah, so we're heavily reliant on volunteers to help us develop some of our specific content and motivation, engagement, and sometimes
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. The different continents one's an interesting one. So did some interesting stuff with large consulting group, and they have people around the world. And so what we did is deliberately put them into groups and syndicates that weren't their time zone. And then what it became was, okay, so I'm going to do a bit on this project, and I'll leave a note in Teams, an audio note with this is the stuff I've done, and then you in Singapore will pick up that stuff later on in the day, and I will then add to it and then do an audio note before the person in Australia gets it, before the person in LA gets it, before it then comes around to the person in London again. And doing it that way, you're able to work asynchronously on something using a free channel where everyone's looking at what everybody else is going, yeah, I don't agree, disagree or whatever. So you can still build that community just using a different channel. And because it was based on an activity in the workplace, something that had to be applied, it wasn't just a learning task, it wasn't just for the point of the training. So, yeah, interesting stuff. What else has come out? Anything good? What's your good ideas? What were the good ideas you've had come up?
Meeting tight deadlines with e-learning as well. They say we want this to around next Tuesday.
So we've sort of had some problems.
So how are we solving them?
Well, we're getting around to that, aren't we? As a team, we're realising that there is something around the quality of the instructor that can drive enthusiasm and engagement. So maybe there's something there. One thing I've heard, use of a volunteer workforce, how to motivate and use the volunteer workforce, incentives, rewards, some of the cultural aspects around that. Very useful.
Adapting stuff you've already done as well.
Yeah.
So how you
Sweat your resources. Yeah. Use your resources 6 times over. Yeah. Always.
Actually, that's one thing I would say we have done better on. So you know when you normally launch something and people go, yeah, I've done it, and you say, yeah, but I haven't learned it. So you republish it, the use of nudges as a way of going, that stuff we talked to you about, still measuring things like usage and uptake of that material, and realising that we hit a KPI with that, we've not nudged it. You know, and using different communications internally to go, stuff there. And using influence and leads to talk about that stuff there, so that stuff there becomes a thing.
I had a brilliant example of that. I was working for Department of Health and Social Care. We were rolling the lateral flow devices out, and it was the training that was going on in schools and universities and so on. Now, in Wales, there was a few of those sites that went out there, but we had to produce learning online in English and in Welsh. There was only about 28 people in Wales who needed to use the site, and we had about 1,200 users who accessed the Welsh learning, but none of them ever completed it. And what we found, it was people going, oh, look at that, isn't that weird? Oh, come have a look at this, look at this, listen to this language, isn't it that weird? And then they got about 5 minutes into it and went, oh God, we better not look at this anymore, and closed it down. And we found about 1,200 people were literally just going there and browsing about to see what Welsh was on the platform. But it proved a point that people will wander in and look at stuff. So make it open to everybody and let them waste their time. That's not your job to police their time, but let them wander in. And do you know what? Somebody there might get something useful out of it.
That's what you could have a brilliant influencer. So when it would be ice cream man, he gets to do the elf, or they get to do the elf next time.
What about like rewards to engage people? So
Yeah.
I think we just try because our learners aren't very wanting to engage. So we do silly things like dress up like elves.
One of the things that's fascinating.
Why don't they want to engage?
I think the majority of our workforce, their last experience of learning was at school, and that
Okay.
probably wasn't particularly positive
Yeah.
experience for them. So they see learning, and we've tried to like think about how we should rebrand that. So we don't necessarily think distant learning, but they see that it's positive, and then on top of that, the company that we work for launched compliance training as the main reason we use our LMS. And so that's really a stick. And so
Fine.
you must do this 12 times a year. I don't like that. You've got to do it now.
Okay.
So there's
A barista.
there hasn't historically been anything positive
Okay.
alongside that. So we're trying to rebrand and
Yeah, so that's a branding piece completely. Yeah. So don't call yourselves learning.
yeah, exactly. We haven't got the good word. Any ideas?
What about coaches?
People
What about
hub.
the role coach?
That's quite fun. I feel like
Something free.
Was
Was it the organisation? Oh, done it again, sorry. Was it the organisation?
We're Polygon, so we are a restoration company, so after big fires and floods, our people go in and put the houses or factories, whatever, back to. So it's a lot of cleaning and
Okay.
putting in equipment like dehumidifiers.
Okay. So I wouldn't be building anything, I'd be finding out where those people are having those conversations every day. So your young people are probably in big WhatsApp groups.
That's exactly what we've just talked about. We literally have just started talking about social learning, and they are doing it. There's so many videos in WhatsApp groups.
Exactly.
It is learning, but we don't want to call it that.
No, but it
That's
is.
exactly
No, but it is. That's exactly what they're doing.
Literally now looking at whether we can bring that into the platform in some way. Like,
No, leave it.
in WhatsApp.
No, leave it on WhatsApp. But what you do is you ask, can you be invited into that group? And then what you do is you can find the interesting stuff to then point them to and go the non-LMS related stuff. So what you do is you find other stuff that you host on your intranet, or you post in a LinkedIn group, or interesting stuff elsewhere, and link out from there. And then what you do is then that devalues, takes away the LMS as being the required bit. So go to their place.
where they are.
Yeah, it's like Field of Dreams. You build it and they'll come. They don't. You build it and it just sits empty. So don't worry about it. Go to their place and have a conversation where they are.
And because that's a tool they're comfortable with, because it's not a learning tool.
Exactly.
So
Yeah, so go into WhatsApp. Yeah, set a WhatsApp group. So when you set up a WhatsApp group with they can trade messages, and you go there, but you don't do anything. You just let them trade messages, and then you drop a message in. Yeah.
this whole like curation and creation is it's like watching and listening.
Well, there's no value in content anymore. I blogged about this today. There's no value. Anybody can access anything anywhere. The value comes from the demand. So what you do is you want people to ask for the stuff, and you do that by tempting them. We go, and there's this little bit of interesting stuff, but in a channel which they're used to.
Engage with it, like they don't understand how.
Sorry, that's what I do.
It's literally what we're talking about now. So it's really like this whole social learning is really like, there's only 2 of us for 6,500 people. So creation is impossible because we can never stay ahead of what everyone wants and keep it up to date. 16 countries and all this kind of stuff. So that's impossible. So we're looking at what's already happening. honestly know anything.
It's also, but who's doing the good stuff? So if someone's done a really good video on WhatsApp and they go, I love that, can I put that in?
Because it's natural coaches already doing that. So it's new starters going, oh my god, I've just found this. How do I practice this? I've never seen that before. Oh, I'll just send you a video. Oh my god, that's what we need.
Exactly, and that's what you do. So then all you do is, on your LMS, you add on that place for frequently asked questions, which links to where that stuff is. That's all. You're in the right place. Give you another 5 minutes, everybody, and then we'll come back together. Busy session.
What sort of information
Loads.
type?
We will be, yeah. So just giving them another 5 minutes. We'll do a 10-minute box now, the Q&A, and then we'll let people out of the room. So the panel, they've all got microphones. But the thing is, we've done this as a panel, but not as a panel. What we've done effectively is a workshop, and my panel are just sitting in the group, basically, having conversations about what they're doing. So everyone's coming and expecting to panel to ask questions, and now what they've got is physical, workable activity. No one's left early.
No, guy.
That's already happening.
I work for a good employer, so it's not like you get it. They're almost wanting you to be everything to everybody else, to everything. So it's very results driven. So a great concept until it's applied.
Love it.
It's not counting it as new impact on the business model.
Really good quality stuff coming out. Really fun person.
Our whole
I know, it's fine.
and making that guest stay better and very competitive, price sensitive market. It's going to get more
But
price
then,
sensitive.
like I said, I'll schedule a post-interview with everybody. We'll do a
Even when it's
quick
coming through team
podcast recording
development, in
where
the
I'll
end it's
just
got
get,
to
okay, what do you think of the event? It's going to spend about 7, 8, 10 minutes, something like that. Again, put it on the thing. All of a sudden, it's exhaust, which is like,
we might start, let's say, have a good model where you start off the shelf, but the LMS allows you to tailor everything, text, image, take half the content and put your other content in. It's not protected. But I'm not. My is not beholden to someone necessarily wanting a load of data to sort of sign off the PO to do the project. But we're allowed to sort of play around, be it risk averse, did it work or not. Everything works in part, and then modify it. But there's always an action. There's always an action going on. So it's probably like. Do like to think about whatever. I love running through fog, and then I know I'm like to see the pathway first.
start mentioning gender, more people just get moved.
Buy something which is worse than building something.
When you're ready.
Because
Because once you've got it, you're ready.
Okay. If I can bring everybody back now, please, including my panel, or non-panel. See, once people start talking, they just can't shut up. It's great. Okay. Come on, panel. For goodness sake. It's like herding cats, isn't it? You know. Okay, hi everybody. So, quick question. Useful activity? I'm getting nods generally around the room. Yeah? Okay. I'll show you this and you can photograph it while we're having some questions. There you go. Take a photo and that's where the free stuff is, okay? The top one is a Google document, which is a list of 49 places where you can get free images from, okay? Some of them have limits and stuff, but literally it's crowdsourced. So if you know somewhere where there's some really good free images, check and see if it's on the list. If not, then add it to it. The second one is music. That's a link through to YouTube's music. And there's about 170 odd tracks you can download and use for free. Again, if you want more than that, get in touch and I'll point you towards some more. And the other one's sound effects. So you can get sound effects and music also, and images from Pixabay, which is my favourite place for getting images from. So pixabay.com, you can get images and sound effects and music for free, unattributed, for business purpose. There you go. Everyone's going to start doing stuff and it will all sound and look the same now because you all use the same images. Pixabay's got about 2 million images, something like that. And the other one I would say is go to Jane Hart's Top 100 Tools. Every year Jane Hart produces Top 100 Tools for Learning, and on that list, pretty much all of them, well, not all of them, at least half, 2/3 are free or neutral cost. The top one on Jane Hart's Top 100 Tools, what do you think it is? No, YouTube. YouTube is the #1 top learning tool. And then Twitter as well is in there. Facebook, all these social platforms which are all free. But there we go. So, what came out from your conversations?
Lots of problems being solved, lots of ways of looking at it. And I think, yes, in the climate that we're in, where there aren't tons of money, how do you make sure that what you've got is working, and how do you fully utilize what's available to you freely? So I think there is something about tightening things, and as I've gone round and with, you know, I think I've visited 4 tables. I think for me the key thing is whatever you are doing to think about the 3 Ps, as you know we were talking about, the people that you are trying to get to do the learning. People have different attitudes to learning, so what does that mean for them? Again, it's what's in it for me. So where there are people mandate learning, people will do it, but fundamentally, do you get the impact you want? Do you get the outcomes you want? Because really and truly, if you want people to be enthused about learning, there are 3 things you need to think about in terms of behavioral change, and people have to have the skills or the capability. They have to have the confidence that actually I have gained these skills, and they have to be motivated to actually use the skills that they've got. But if it's something that's mandated, they may well get the skills, but actually are they going to be motivated to use it? So I think for me, there is something about always thinking about the people that we are trying to get this learning to. There's also something about the process, how we make it facilitative and not hindering. And then the third thing being the product or the systems that we are using. Because, listen, in England, there are people that are digitally excluded, but we assume that if they're coming to work every day, they have access to, Wi-Fi and smartphones and the rest. So it's making sure that actually where there are tools to deliver that learning, that we are making that available to our users. So I think those were the sorts of conversations that I was having around the tables.
Brilliant. I've had similar conversations before I come to Lavinia, similar conversations with my uncle who doesn't use the internet, hates the internet, doesn't use the internet, uses Facebook to talk to his sons, but Facebook isn't the internet in his mind. And that's the kind of thing we need to think of. The idea of, build the tools, but actually we had a conversation here. There's people already using tools, they're already using WhatsApp. So why do I need to build a forum for them to come and have a conversation if they're already using WhatsApp? I need to go to their WhatsApp conversation. Lavinia.
So I wasn't that active. I only stayed at table one because I was so caught on the discussions. We talked about employee-generated content. We talked about accessibility, designing for accessibility, and also how do you prioritize basically when your teams get your L&D team gets reduced. And I think a lot of the solutions were around social learning and how can you use whatever you have, which is people mostly, and how can you use those people in a good way actually to help them learn from each other. And there were many frameworks thrown around like World Cafe or Intervision, co-development, peer learning. And also, to your point, we were also talking about how can you use the tools that people already use, not add to others to their table that they might find it hard to deal with. Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's something, a quick question is, how many people have traded email addresses or contact details with people at their table? A couple of nods. Awesome. You could always set up a LinkedIn group where you could all have a chat about stuff afterwards. For example, connect with everybody on LinkedIn, form a LinkedIn group, find the interesting links, and all of a sudden you've got a community. Yeah, well, it's all obvious really, isn't it? That's all you do. One of you will know the right answer. So all you do is connect with the people who know the right answer, and it's exactly that. Somebody in your business knows the right answer. And all social learning is developing a network where that person over there who knows the answer can connect with the person here who needs it, and everybody wins. Ed?
Just picking up on that, the bit I've got is there are a lot of people in this room being asked to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And, if it was where does L&D stand now, I think it's definitely in the game, but I think it's managing the requests. And somebody's written something that says L&D has a lot of the answers, or buddy up with someone in L&D, because I think there's a lot of being overwhelmed. So picking up on this, a LinkedIn group or whatever it is, just around your table, if you're looking for what value you got from today, you could get 6 or 7 other people that you've got that in common. Every table's got different organisations, but I would say take up Andrew's offer there, because on a worse day we could empathise together. You know about the situation that is in, but I think it gives us a little bit of power that perhaps we thought we're going to lose, during COVID. Linking to the free stuff on the back table over there, I started talking about Microsoft to an Apple guy. But he was very generous. And one of the things we talked about was, that bottom sort of left-hand corner, your companies buy packages, of software, or the bundle. They buy it for the majority of the bundle, but there's little bits in there, whether it's Microsoft and Slack or, things that they add onto Teams. So if your company already has it and you're wanting to bring people together, communicate and share, have a look what's already there. And the IT people just haven't told everyone because it's not the core part of the bundle that they bought it for. So if it's already on the system, it's okay, isn't it? So maybe tell IT you might start using it and experimenting with it. So I naturally try and go and buy something else, and actually that's not the smartest way. You know, look at what you're not using in the bundle you've already got. There was a great conversation about permission as well. So if you're trying to surface content from team members, I think that I was here years ago, and it was like, you know, the days of L&D knowing everything have gone. So we're the curators, but actually, I think L&D in our organisation is really well connected because we get out and about. So we know where the people are with something that they want to share. And I think just the empowerment now of being asked to share with colleagues, and I can give them the vehicle to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that there's a lot of people in your organisations that might know something that you could record as a podcast, as a shaky hand film, you know, and get up by the end of the day. So someone says, we need more people to do what you do. I want to replicate an exemplar of something in the business, and we can share that by 5. But if you have to, you know, write the proposal and get the, you know, the tech people in to record it and edit it. So I think if there's a lot going on, we have to think about speed. I do keep telling everyone I work for a hotel, and I've met some great medical people and people that probably have a lot of more paper to fill out or forms to fill out. But I'm sure somewhere there's a straighter line from where you need to get to from where you are, without breaking any rules. But it might make people a bit warm and a little bit red-faced, because I think there might be some people, you know, everyone wants to protect their job, and it's my job to sign this off. And maybe it just doesn't need signing off because it's going to be really effective. So I think there's a lot going on, and I think we should think about what we can do, you know, in a working day. And can we bring people in that don't work in the L&D function? Because we don't know all the answers, so let's make relationships with them and find pathways for them to share early, but reward them. I think as an organisation, we're good at rewarding people. One-off tasks, and right at the start over here, we had a conversation about language and translation. And I won't make such a big statement about translation companies, but you know, if you're not with the right one, there might just be one pip above Google Translate. You know. So start with Google Translate, pass it through native speakers in the organisation for the subtleties of the language. If they're doing it in work time, they're interested because they're doing a project that's not core to their role. And like, we've never been burnt so far. No one's hidden a word in there that shouldn't be there. And it's a great way, because especially for us, housekeeping and that sort of area, they're great jobs to learn English while at work. But initially, they might not have great English. So we audio translate with colleagues just over the top of a recorded film or PowerPoint and share early. So awesome. Time, share early, and the shortest way to A to B. Awesome.
And I would speak to that point. So the 3 Bs are the most important when you're designing with a budget. And the first B is borrow. So who can you borrow? What can you borrow from? Who can you borrow from? What can you use that somebody will lend you? You're on a little neutral basis. The second B is build. So actually, what tools have I already got that I can build something with? And then the last one is buy. You buy last. You borrow first, you build first, and then you buy last. Because by then, what you're buying should only be fairly minimal. And that's what I did with my courses and classes. We just took them all away and then bought just the small elements that we needed. And we took about 6 figures out of the budget. I also took the team from 11 down to 2, but you know. There we go. Anyway, thank you. This session is only good because you've all contributed. What we will do is we will keep the Jamboard open, so make sure you've got a note of the link. I'll probably do something with the guys here, which I'll have a chat about with them, which they don't know yet, about how we can do something in addition to support it. The Jamboard will remain open. I'll lock it so you can't add stuff to it, but you'll still be able to view it, and if I can find any useful links and so on, I'll put them on there as well. I think we need to show appreciation for our non-panel. And talking of free, there is free booze available from now. So
only for people in this session.
Yeah, we're from session. Yeah, we're from room 4. Thank you very much, everybody. Well done.